Welcome to episode 24 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure series. As always, book one of the series, Blast the Dragon's Fury, is free for download from Google Play, Amazon, or Barnes & Noble. So if you haven't gotten a copy yet, please feel free to do so. I'm also excited to announce that you can take Book Nerd Paradise with you. That's right, Book Nerd Paradise episodes are now available for free download on the iTunes podcasts. So look for the channel there and take Book Nerd Paradise with you this summer. Today we welcome YA fantasy author Colleen Helme as our guest. Best known as the author of the mystery and suspense Shelby Nichols Adventure series, Colleen will be sharing from her first YA fantasy novel, Songbird, which she released just 2 months ago. Referring back to the Shelby Nichols series, where she got her start, Colleen is often asked if Shelby Nichols, who is always getting herself into trouble, is her alter ego, to which she replies emphatically, "Definitely, Shelby is the epitome of everything I wish I dared to be." Don't we all? Known for her laughs since she was a kid, Colleen has always tried to find humor in every situation and continues to weave that into her writing. Colleen lives in the Rocky Mountains with her family. Besides writing, she loves a good book, biking, hiking, and playing board and card games with her family and friends. She loves to connect with readers and admits that her fans keep her reading. So, if you like Songbird, be sure to send her lots of strokes. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Helme.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
It's great to see you, Colleen. It's good to meet you. As I mentioned, you'll be reading from your novel Songbird. So that we can get a feel for the book, would you give us a brief synopsis?
I wrote Songbird mostly because I believe music is a universal language. And I've always loved music, and I think everybody does. I just wanted to expand on the magic of music. And so I wanted to give a character something that is dear to my heart in being able to sing and actually see the tones, sing in harmony with herself, and have magic happen. So I created this person and then had to create all kinds of situations for her. So the synopsis, I'll just read from the back of the book. As the ambassador from Braemar, Bran is sent on a diplomatic mission to the Old Country to establish trade relations. But the real reason for his mission is to uncover the secrets of a potent elixir that can give magic to anyone who drinks it. While there, he encounters the Songbird, a beautiful, exotic woman, and the king's most prized possession. Her song is full of magic, and he determines that her people must be connected to the deadly elixir. In exchange for her help, he is willing to risk his life to set her free. What he doesn't expect is to fall under her spell. She is actually a slave to the king when the book starts and when she first meets him and he meets her.
Colleen, you've selected a favorite quote. Would you share that with us and then tell us why it's a favorite?
All right, my favorite quote is from James Stephens. It's from a book called The Crock of Gold, and it was actually published in 1912. So this is a really old book, and I came across it when I was in college. But I just love this quote, and it states, "What the heart knows today, the head will understand tomorrow." And this really struck a chord with me because how many times have you known something with your heart that you could not explain with your head? And it's usually the next day or weeks or even years later that you go, now I know why that happened. So I love that quote.
You're also giving a book away. What are you giving away?
Okay, I'm giving away a free copy of Songbird, and I will sign it, and I hope you enjoy it.
So to enter to win, all you need to do is go over to YouTube and leave a brief comment about the episode. It could be the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrendous, whatever you want to call it, but just leave us a brief comment. And that will enter you into the contest, which I will then do a random drawing on the following Saturday and pick a lucky winner, and you will get the autographed paperback sent directly to you from Colleen herself. You'll be reading from Songbird. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share with us?
This actually comes when Bran is first introduced to Taya, the songbird, and he is in the hall with the king, and she is going to perform. And at this point, he's really looking forward to this because he doesn't know if magic is really, if it really exists. And so this is his chance to find out when he gets to hear her perform. So this is that scene. The king stood proudly, and the hall quieted before he spoke. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. Our celebration would not be complete without hearing from my beautiful songbird. He took her unresisting hand and led her to a raised platform as though she were an honored guest. From where he sat, Bran heard the king's soft-spoken threat, "Do not fail me." An expectant hush filled the hall. For the first time, Bran detected a flicker of emotion behind her cool exterior. Was it anger or defiance? As quick as it came, it was gone, and her face returned to the schooled blankness that had made her seem so remote and cold. The silence lengthened uncomfortably before she tilted her chin at a determined slant. As she took a deep breath, Bran caught the gleam of wildness in her eyes, and his stomach clenched with sudden apprehension. The first few notes took him by surprise. They were light and clear, shining like sparkling water under the sun, and carrying an underlying tone of reverence. The tones conjured golden images of light, and bound to the intensity of her voice, created a feeling of wonder and awe. As the beautiful tones rose in volume, the air became drenched with glittering light. Swirling around her, the light shifted in color and size, growing and changing with the music. He could only describe this display as fireworks bursting with color and then trailing away into sparkling diamonds of light. The beauty took his breath away, and it seemed as if the entire hall was enclosed with torrents of golden light. The steady light grew, and he watched with amazement as it fell down from above and encircled his body, even becoming the air he breathed. Incredibly, his skin and clothes took on a golden hue. As he tried to understand what was happening, the tones grew in intensity and lifted his soul to another sphere beyond his wildest imaginings. Time slowed and almost stopped. Then the moment passed, and he could breathe again. His senses reeled like he had just been taken for a wild ride. As he gathered his wits, a low echo filled the hall, soothing his nerves. The melody and harmonies changed, whispering of tranquility and peace. Within this blanket of warmth, his defenses fell away one by one. An air of complacency relaxed his breathing, and peace surrounded him. He vaguely sensed his vulnerability, but couldn't do anything about it, nor did he want to. Even the air he breathed seemed laden with calming hues of green and blue. All at once, the tones changed into a twisting dissonance, sending his blood racing with distress. Bran instinctively covered his ears along with everyone else in the room. Startled cries of pain from the crowd joined the dissonance, cutting into him like nails. The songbird's beautiful face twisted with her own pain as she forced out the notes and struggled to stand upright. Fighting obvious agony, she continued to sing, and the notes rose in a crescendo that swirled in the air around the king. Bands of dark light descended over him and tightened in a vice. King Thesald came to his feet with a strangled gasp and clutched at his chest. Her song continued, but the effort sent her to her knees. Then, with a pop, the kundar around her neck flared a bright orange red, cutting off her voice and leaving the room abruptly silent.
Our guest author last week, YA fantasy author Catherine Banks, posed a trivia question for us.
Who drew the black and white maps in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit? J.R.R. Tolkien actually did.
Colleen, you have a trivia question for us. What is that?
I do. The question is, what is the first thing that Mr. Darcy notices about Elizabeth Bennet?
Okay, well, we're going to have to definitely tune in next episode to find out what that is, unless you remember. Oh, any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us?
Yes, writing is kind of a solitary career, and it's so nice to be able to talk to other people who share that passion to read and write. And I just want to tell anybody who's struggling to just keep at it, keep going. And I also have to put in a plug to all of my fans of my Shelby Nichols Adventure series and let them know how much they mean to me and the feedback that I get. It really does keep me writing, and I appreciate that very much. So there you go.
That's great. That's great. Yes, I think every writer, and I would completely concur, it is a very solitary occupation for sure. So yes, when those positive little notes of encouragement mean a whole lot.
Well, they do. They're like gold. They're like gold, and it can make your day so much better.
Colleen, thank you so much for those words. I think that you speak well for most authors, that we value positive feedback. So yes, we speak positive encouragement from now and again. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Colleen Helme just a little bit. As I said, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure series, of which Book One, Blast of the Dragon's Fury, is available for free download. So be sure to get a copy. Our next episode, we will feature YA fantasy author Katie Huth Jones, sharing from her newest release, Mercy's Prince. The synopsis reads, a second son of the king of Lavathia, 17-year-old Valerian desires the quiet life of a scholarly monk, but when he fails to save his older brother in battle, Valerian must instead become crown prince. While a traitorous knight schemes against him, Valerian meets Mercy, a pacifist healer with whom he can speak mind to mind like the great dragons. Their bond emboldens Valerian to seek out the legendary dragons and ask for their help against the monsters who killed his brother. Can Valerian survive the traitor's assassins long enough to find the dragons? And if he does, can he convince them to lay aside their hatred of humans and help him save the land from destruction? Look forward to that adventure next Monday.
Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next episode.